What's going on, guys? It is MurderInc here, back with episode 2 of the Turbo Progression series. On top of giving the account update, I'm also going to be giving you all of the do's and don'ts, pretty much tips and tricks on what to be doing if you are a mid-game player. Now, what we're going to do first is let's define mid-game. Mid-game is someone who is finished or close to finished with the campaign. Nightmare doesn't really matter, it's just there for the extra rewards. So once you have that, on top of that, you also want at least 5 6-star champions to really pop yourself out of that early game level so you can start moving forward. Now, as we can see here, since I'm already on the page, let's go over what I did with Turvold. Obviously, he's in Relentless gear. These are the stats I have him now. The key to this mid game is doing your research, watching YouTube guides, whether it's through my channel or other content creators' channels, really finding out where you can get maximum value out of the champions you picked. And as mentioned before in the first progression series, it's really important to make sure you're picking the correct 5 champions to 6-star first. As we can see here, I do have 8 6-star champions. I did pull a Skull Crusher since the last time I saw you, so there is that as well. Before I start jumping all around the place, one thing I want to talk about that I missed in the early game is the market. As you can see here, I haven't unlocked the last market slot because an Ancient Shard hasn't popped up in that slot. There's no reason for me to use the 100,000 silver right now. I might need that to upgrade a piece of gear. It's just all about maximum efficiency. I ended up having an Ancient Shard pop up here. I've played other accounts before where I only had to unlock half of the marketplace because I never saw an Ancient Shard anywhere else. And the gear really isn't that good if you followed all of my steps from the first video and for this video as far as the type of gear you're going to be buying. So as mentioned before, the goal was get a Dragon 20 and pretty much rush a Dragon 20 team. Now I can clear Dragon 20, however it's not consistent. There is a chance to fail, and any chance to fail is not good enough for me. So I am farming stage 18 as much as I can, as often as I can, with all of the energy. So that's something very important because gear is going to carry you through this game, not the champions you have. And one thing I see all the time is accounts are underdeveloped and their gear is really bad, and they say, well, I can't hit level 20, I can't hit these top levels of the dungeon, so there's no point in farming it. You're actually incorrect in thinking that way, and let me explain why here. I don't have the most ideal team for Spider, however my accessories are fine for the champions I'm using. One thing to look at here is all of the dungeons, no matter which dungeon you pick, it'll always have a low threshold that's, as we can see here, ring, necklace, and banner, 4 to 6-star. So there's RNG involved, yes. However, you can still get 5 and 6-star gear that you need, that's vital for progression. I don't need to hit stage 20 to say it is now viable for me to farm to get accessories for my champions. Accessories are gigantic, especially if you're ascending your champions. It gives you so many extra stats that can prove vital, especially on the banner where you can get accuracy to help you move through all of the content. So this is something I want you to consider and not to overlook too quickly. So for me personally, I am farming stage 13 because that's what I can do comfortably. I could probably manual through 15, but I'm not going to sit there doing that all day. So 13 is where I farmed and where I got all the accessories for all of my champions. Now, there's really no reason to farm Ice Golem. There's really no reason to farm Fire Knight. But Dragon is another important one. So let's say you cannot reach level 20 and you can't even reach level 18. So what should you be doing? As long as you can reach, honestly, stage 13 that has a chance to drop 6-star gear, it might not be as big as 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, so on and so forth. However, you do have that chance to get that 6-star gear that you need, even better chance of getting 5-star gear. The higher you can go, the better you will do. Now then you say, well, what's the cutoff point? A lot of people say stage 15 on the Dragon. Honestly, as long as you have a chance to get 16 gear, so whether it's stage 13, whether it's stage 18 like I'm doing, you need to farm Dragon to make sure you get to that stage 20 eventually, so you can rule out all of the 4-star gear, because you're probably not going to be keeping that in the mid-game process. So what are the order of events for a mid-game player? One thing that's really important when you get into the mid-game is books. How do you use your books? Now I'm going to be doing a separate video on that because I know that's a very sensitive topic. But the first thing is you have to look at the value of the champion without the books. If it's not vital to your team to have a champion booked, just don't book them. I don't care if they're an S tier legendary based on what other people say. I don't care if it's an S tier epic based on what other people say. Everyone here has common sense, especially if you're watching this channel. If you look at a champion and look at their kit and you say, I have enough books to fully book them, what can this add to my run? If you don't see something that instantly pops in your head and say, this would be huge for thinking about all of the waves you're clearing, I'll have this cooldown this much faster. If that doesn't instantly happen, then it's not worth booking. Perfect example of a champion that is worth booking is Skull Crusher. Now I ended up getting lucky. I only used 2 books and one of them went to this A2. So this is a champion with a very low risk of booking. He only takes 4 or 5 books. One of them is all you need. So this was a very realistic thing for me to do. Zargala, she was a mistake, and I'll explain why in a second. If you're not wailing out and spending money, it is not worth booking this champion. You go from a 4-turn to a 2-turn cooldown on her Devastate, which is fine, but it's not huge. And the 5-turn defense down isn't good enough to be a reliable defense down, even if you move that to a 4-turn. Now, if you want to use something like Relentless Gear on Zargala, you can do that. However, if you've ever watched a guide on Zargala, or if you know about her, and I'm kind of going to talk about her today since we're on the topic, she is very difficult to gear. I'm having a very hard time gearing this champion as well as I would like to, as we can see here. I do have 100% crit that has helped me a little bit. Her accuracy is fine for the content I'm doing. She's surviving. The damage is very hard to get there, even with a crit damage banner that I got lucky for getting. So this is what I mean by fully researching your champions. Make sure you know what you're doing before you're going into it so you don't misinvest, whether it's books, ascensions, any of these things, into the wrong champions, because it will really hinder your progress going forward. Another champion that's very hard to gear early on is Royal Guard. I have him at 6-star. I know in my head I do have the plan of using him for endgame. However, he's not ready yet, so I'm not going to invest in him. Cold Heart, much easier champion to use. As you can see here, I have almost 200% crit damage, and I've seen a lot of people incorrectly build her. It was rather easy for me to get 200% just with using mismatched gear. It was easy for me to get that crit rate to 55%, which guarantees that the Heart Seeker always crits. That's all you need. Any crit rate outside of that is just helpful for general things like wave clear. But as I mentioned before, plus 55% crit rate is all you need for her. So I'm 3% over, and then as much crit damage as possible. Now the next thing I want to talk about is Clan Boss. I stressed this before in my episode 1, and I'm going to talk about it again. Clan Boss is important, and you do get free keys, so I do suggest using them. However, don't focus too much of your effort on it, because Dragon Dungeon is much more important for you as a player in your overall progression. Now, I cannot do Nightmare. Nightmare is kind of the minimum I should be aiming for before I try. I do want to keep updated on where I am so I know when I'm ready to jump in. I'm not quite yet ready for a Nightmare. I have to farm Spider some more. I have to make sure I can consistently farm Dragon Stage 20 100% without failing, so that's pretty much on the top of my priority list going forward. Once I can do that, then I will retune my champions. And another important thing to note is you're going to have to change your gear for your Clan Boss team for maximum efficiency. Right now I have Mausoleum Mage in a shield set, which is doing absolutely nothing for me in the Clan Boss. However, it does a ton for me in Dragon, and it does a ton for me in Spider, which are my main focal points of progression right now. So when I move away from the farming and can swap Mausoleum for someone else, or don't have to rely on that shield set anymore, I can put him in a more useful set for Clan Boss, and based on me just thinking ahead, I know it will give me a significant boost in my damage to make sure all of these things round out perfectly. So once again, if you are in the mid game, don't focus too much on Clan Boss until you're confident you can get the top chest in Nightmare. That is the most important thing. Outside of that, use keys as you would like, see where you are, and just keep that in the back of your mind that don't invest too much in Clan Boss champions until you have those dungeon champions down. As we can see here, I still haven't unlocked my gem mine, and neither should you. Another point where you're constantly looking to get masteries on your champion, and if you save up enough gems throughout your time, whether you're free to play or spending money, 500 gems is too much of an investment this early on into the game for this to be justified for where you wait 100 days to start slowly getting all of those gems back. Now the last thing that I want to talk about is Arena. I am slowly getting to the point where Arena is going to be worth it for me to start spending all of my time and pretty much farming nonstop. So as we can see, I am in silver. I haven't checked it recently enough to know if I can consistently farm silver. Most of this is simply from my defense getting me to this level. Now, one thing that's very important is I'm pretty much doing my minimum battles each day. Some days I am forgetting, but the key to arena in the early game is making sure you have one champion that's very fast. Now, I got incredibly lucky with the speed gear that I got, and I have 278 speed, which is pretty much insane. I'm sure you guys know by now that this account is, let's get specific here, day 108 to day 117, so I'm almost at 10 days played on this account. I did have a ton of resources from all of those login rewards, so I got really lucky with gear. I have a really fast champion. So just to show you what my defense team is and pretty much what's keeping me in this game right now, I have Jarek as my leader, Golden Reaper, who is a fantastic champion, Mausoleum Mage, and of course my carry Turvold here. And this is my defense log, pretty much wins and losses, and from the looks of it, yeah, my losses are -9, -10, +11, -11. Yeah, so I'm in a pretty fair balance of where I'm sitting in the arena right now, plus my 5 daily wins. And like teams like this, I would never fight a hegemon team. It is possible I get lucky with resistance, but arena is another aspect of the game. Just like the clan boss, we are going to have to invest farming gear for specific champions to really progress in the arena, and that is not my goal right now. Guess I can get 1%, 2%, 3% more defense, but it's not going to add enough value for me to justify farming it and reshaping the champions I currently have at my disposal for the arena only. So really quickly, just going through in case anyone's interested, these are the champions I have. This is the gear I have on them. As you can see, I do have Madame Ceres, and she is in a toxic set. This is to help in Dragon, as well as later on it's going to help me in the clan boss, since I'm not going to be using a poisoner. So I'm going to see where I'm going to be using toxic sets. Toxic set isn't as good on a Madame Ceres because she already needs accuracy. However, if I were to use a toxic set on someone like Mausoleum Mage, who requires no accuracy because I'm really not focused on using that A1 decrease speed, especially for a clan boss that would never use it. So for those of you who don't know, all of these artifact sets that apply a debuff require 0 accuracy. If I can farm the gear, since I'm farming Dragon, and Dragon does drop Toxic set, which is another benefit and why I'm rushing Dragon like everyone else should, I can throw a Toxic set on him and I will increase his damage in the clan boss by 2 million damage, 3 million damage. It all depends on RNG, but the increase is actually huge based on not having a set. I saw Madame Ceres damage, like I said, go up 2 million. And it was just awesome to see. It really brought me to the next bracket in Dragon. Even though I can't consistently farm it yet, I am missing some key gear. But also in Clan Boss, it significantly improved my key damage. So outside of that, what do you do next? Now you have to start looking at where are my future resources going to go to. As far as 6-starring champions, if they aren't going to be immediately used, don't even worry about 6-starring them. There's plenty of places for you to use your daily energy, whether it's ascending champions you already have that you know will be successful for you and help you in progression, or whether it's keep grinding the dungeons you already have unlocked, whether it's a lower stage of Spider, because most people aren't doing Spider 20, like I'm not doing Spider 20 yet. I was at what I think level 12 and it was still fine. As we can see here, I do have pretty decent accessories from the spider already, and this is simply from farming. Let's get the exact number that I was farming just so I'm not speaking incorrectly. Yeah, so I'm farming stage 13 and I have pretty decent 5-star gear, so that's huge. So that's where I would pretty much recommend using your time and using your energy, is just farming in these dungeons, looking at the champions. Based on what you did early game, you should have a solid roster of, like I said, 560s. And don't look to 6-star too many more people unless they can dramatically change the course of your game progression-wise going forward. So one thing I will do for you now that we're to the end of the video, let's see Turvold in action. Let's see what you can do. Obviously, I wouldn't go through this video without showing some type of gameplay. So let's just pick to do Clan Boss, even though I've stressed that it's not really a focal point. This is brutal and it's a lot of fun to watch him do his damage. One thing I did change, and I think it might be interesting for you to hear, is I actually sacrificed a bit of damage on Turvold by putting him in a relentless set for 1, but also giving him accuracy so he has that chance of dropping the weaken, which was kind of hard for me to justify doing. However, after looking into it, I figured since I have all of these champions masteried right now, that adding that chance of applying a weaken to the boss is going to do more overall. My damage actually went up 3 million damage simply from having a weaken on Turvold, which was huge. And I can't take too much credit away from Relentless. Obviously, if there's good RNG, I can have awesome Relentless procs, and that's going to increase my damage even more. But on average, it was about 2 to 3 million damage increase from having that weaken debuff on the boss, simply based on all of the increased mastery procs I was getting from the rest of my champions. So that was cool. As I mentioned before, ideally I would have Mausoleum Mage in a poison set to kind of fill up the debuff bar, since I'm not going to be running a poisoner all the way through Ultra Nightmare, and the only chance I do have of getting a poison is going to be from these toxic sets. Now, the question I want to leave with you guys as I wrap up this video is, what do you think I should do with Skull Crusher? Since I'm not focused on Clan Boss right now, and I'm not sure where he's going to help me, possibly he's going to help me in Fire Knight going forward. I haven't really thought much about Fire Knight, and I really have been slacking on my Arbiter missions because, being honest with you, Arbiter's not a big deal for me for this account. I have the champions I need. I don't really need Arbiter. So she's not someone I'm going to spend my resources, fall even more behind in my overall progression of farming dungeons just to keep up with these missions. Yes, I do get extra rewards from them, so I'm going to do them at my own pace and make sure when I'm doing the missions, it's going to make sense based on where I'm at in the game, and I'm not just blindly rushing for Arbiter and so on and so forth. So I want to know, where do you guys think I could use Skull Crusher to my most success, since I kind of am running a speed team, and champions like Turvold with Relentless and Extra Turn don't do the best in the clan boss setting with the Skull Crusher. So I'm interested to get your guys' feedback. What do you guys think? Should I be looking towards Fire Knight based on the roster you saw that I had? What should my Fire Knight team be? So these are things that I want to hear from you guys, kind of get you involved in this second account. I'm having a ton of fun with this account. I'm pretty much playing this account, I want to say, more than my main account and more than my YouTube account. So this is where I spend pretty much most of my time now, especially since there's not a ton of content for me to do on the other accounts. So let me know what you guys think of this series. I'm having a lot of fun making this, and I will see you when we're at the recap screen here so we can go over the damage before I conclude this video. Alright guys, so as we can see here, Turvold is obviously my carry. We have Madame Saris and Golden Reaper coming with the second. Saris actually didn't do a ton of damage this time, so probably low RNG with her toxic set, but Turvold obviously being the powerhouse at 5.3 million damage, 11.3 million on Brutal, day 10. That's what I like to see, and I believe 22.9 and 2 keys should be top chest. Yes, it is, which is beautiful. So as mentioned before, I do have a ton of work to do to get to Nightmare. That is definitely in the sights eventually. However, for now, well, you can kind of take all this information I gave you, apply it to your accounts if you are mid-game, if you are starting a second account, and really use that to your success in creating the most efficient environment you have when working towards these endgame goals. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching. If you like this content, don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss my next video, and I will see you all in the next upload.